Welcome everyone, it's Evelyn from Twin Flames 3344. This is a big read today. I have two Divine Masculine Twin Flame reads for you as well as a union read. So I have a Twin Flame Masculine read for yesterday and today. The union read was done last night, late last night. And then there's a lot in between. So I want to get started because there's so much to tell you. Take a deep breath, guys. Let it out slowly. So I'm going to show you the reads first so you have them and you can take a picture of them. So if you want to refer back to them, you can. So first we have the Divine Masculine read from yesterday. This is the main read, the basic read. And then this is the full read from yesterday. And then we have the union read from last night, before midnight though. It was I think it was around 9 or 10 o'clock. That was a union read. And then we're definitely going to get into some other stuff. A lot of stuff came up. So please stay tuned. There's going to be a lot of information. There will be important downloads for everybody today. So funny too, I came across the hobo's alphabet today. So funny, and it totally synced with the stuff that was coming up. So I'll get to that when I get to that point. So aside from the read in front of you, which is the second Divine Masculine Flame, Twin Flame read, after I put these cards down today, I decided to pull a card from the energy deck to see what came up. And I ended up going through the entire deck because it was such a story. So I'm going to show you that really quick. So the underlying energy when I pulled those cards was deceit, which is 25, which is the Knight of Wands. And this can be deceiving yourself as well. And again, this is a masculine read, so it's a general read. If something doesn't resonate with you, don't force it to fit. But it's also for the feminines because it's the masculine within them as well. Okay? So the first card that came up for the masculines when I pulled these cards was Cornucopia, which is beautiful. So that is the 11 of justice, so truth and balance, and an abundance of thanksgiving. And that came up recently too. I'm trying to remember where I read that. But the abundance of thanksgiving in the spiritual journey, that every day really should be Thanksgiving Day, right? So after I pulled that card, these two came along with that because they're coming out in threes. So here first was representing the feminine in her graduating from her journaling and all that she's done in her abundance and having thanks, okay? That's the strategy card, Cornucopia, and the 7th chakra, Archangel Uriel. And then the next three cards came out as feminine karmic energies around the masculine, okay? So there's anxiety, and then there are going to be kids here too. So we have the 2nd Archangel Ariel, and then we have appreciation, which is also the 15 of the Devil card. So someone who may be tempting fate a little bit, could be a kid or something that needs to show more appreciation for their life. But again, it can be child energies or just people at work or your partner energies, any of those energies. Just in summary, a lot of feminine energies around the masculine. Okay. Then we have the masculine. Out in the sun, getting some sunshine, for blossoming abundance in the spring as he is resting and rejuvenating and taking in the sunshine, which is beautiful. This is 19, 3 for abundance and Gaia, and then the sun, so much sun and earth, really, getting in tune with nature, which was beautiful to see for the masculine. All right, then we had, this cracked me up too. I mean, I'm telling you, this story was just so perfect. So in doing that, he's helping himself remove that mask or any deceit. Remember the deceits at the bottom of the deck, which is the door to romance for the broken heart that's been cracked. Here's the 9 of the Hermit, the 33 of the Christ vibration, and the 5 of the Hierophant, okay, which has to do with the institution, right, the patriarchy, the way things are normally done, or social standards, that kind of thing, okay? And there's a lot of red there, which indicates the root chakra, safety and security. And then we have here, and then also needing to figure out what you value in life. What is it that you value? Is it love, money, style, doing for others? What is it exactly? And there's no wrong answer. It's just, what do you value? Be authentic to yourself. The door to personal healing and happiness. right? Bringing the outdoors in. You notice in this picture, the outdoors is outdoors, but it's also on the inside. And then we have patience and time. We have all the time in the world. Don't worry about the towers coming in. That all will work itself out in time. What do you value? To bring your healing and happiness. And stop worrying about the time, and Spirit's connecting with me that you have all the time in the world. Be patient. And also the Statue of Liberty always comes up with me for that card. And then we get into the masculine energies. We have the sixth chakra archangel Metatron, and look at the masculine's third eye opening up like that. How beautiful is that? And Metatron for me has always been the one overseeing the masculines. Michael, the feminines, and Metatron, the masculines. And there we have the thinking man, figuring out something new that he might want to do if he's working with crystals or something else, or the crystalline energy. And there is the third option for him, right? He can work with his third eye. He can work with crystals or something else more physical or tactile. And then we have a man holding a coin, which is the other route, with perhaps his current business where he's made a lot of money or done very well for himself, but which is also the cause of his hostilities in caring connections, okay? So this has been bringing him a lot of impatience and challenges due to what he's doing now or has been doing up till now, and perhaps even a father figure who's saying, what? What did I do now? Or, you know, he perhaps making excuses, or someone who has passed, who the masculine's connecting with. It could be a father, an uncle, a grandfather, or a boss, but catching them in a vulnerable spot. That could be the caring connection that's caused hostilities in the masculine. And this is about opening his own doors to spirit and letting the spirits in, whether it's someone who passed and you couldn't tell them how you felt, if you had some anger with them, in order to allow the rainbow into your current family situation. Okay? And then that's the four of the Emperor. And then we have what other stuff could be around the masculine. So again, these could be kids and partners or people at work. These could be, somebody could be walking away, someone discovering their self, and another one who may be afraid to leave the house. Okay, so other energies around the masculine. And also the masculine is saying, the healer of the ages then comes up. What? I have these things to take care of. He's doing, look at this. Here, the masculine as the healer of the ages. How much are these alike? Is this not father and son, or what? He doesn't realize how much he is like his father, or whoever it is that he doesn't want to be compared to. Check that out. So funny. And then we have, after dealing with the family, it's time to cross that bridge, right? The 4D bridge. But how much is this like the Wizard of Oz? We have to deal with the envy. If you're going to cross that bridge and follow all the direction signs, you're going to come across some people who are envious, like the Wicked Witch of the West, and have to choose which path you're on. You're going to have to keep choosing new decisions at every pass. And this causes safety and security issues. What if I choose the wrong path after having experienced this? Someone's a little trepidatious there. And also having dealt with this already. Someone they have perhaps that they left with nothing, or perhaps someone who left them with nothing. In order to get to this power couple energy, as you see, that is a power couple, right? And perhaps a contract. And this is the twin contract, or is this your karmic contract? Only you can decide on that. But they're very much shining their confidence light, and they have angel wings, which for me indicates it's the twin divine contract. And then we have this contract card could also be separate. It could have to do with the contract with the karmic, who may be very studious and serious and want to study her books. Or she could be creative or stylish, that kind of thing. But there may have been a contract that now may be coming up. So then we have this also adjacent opportunity of the masculine coming forward and speaking his truth with the angel of balance, and that could be a child, and going on the temple path. And then we have victory in that. But are there more adjacent possibilities? Like the angel of love. Should I go this route? Perhaps that's a sister with the divine masculine, with safety and security and staying at his mother's house, being controlled by their money. You see that? And to bring balance, because at least the masculine knows what to expect there. Or should he choose the community, perhaps the spiritual community, where he can be free to roam with his opposite side of the coin, the man holding a heart, being vulnerable, along with his prisoner, who lies in his heart with the 38 of the Queen of Cups, which is the feminine energy, right? With this major overview of the world. So how beautiful of a story was that? All right, so that's starting out. So right before I'm going to pull out one card for you now from the same deck to pull out what we need to focus on now, because the energies are always changing. The first one I'm going to go over is the read from yesterday for the Divine Masculine. So much cool stuff came in this read. I'm so excited to share it with you. So please stay tuned as long as you can. And if you can't watch everything in one sitting, if you don't watch to the end, sometimes the best stuff comes up in the middle to the end for me, honestly. So, all right, so from the energy deck, what does everyone need to know for the best and highest good of all those concerned? What do we need to know? What do we need to learn? And let's clear all negative, dark, and viral energies across all dimensions of time, space, matter, and realities for the highest good of all those concerned, and fill that empty space with only beautiful divine love and diamond crystalline light, and so it is. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And thank you all for being here. All right, what is our energy here going forward in this read, for the read from yesterday? Take a deep breath. There we go. All right, so the card we have is Happy Family. Okay, so it's all about bridging gaps within the family right now. And again, this card's coming up again, Cornucopia, which was the first card when I did this read. So that's perfect. Abundance within the family. And make sure you know what you value. The underlying energy is coming up, the angel of love, which is that really sweet energy. So again, sisters may be coming up. So this is coming up with, you know, whatever issues in the family that you need to work out. Or maybe this came up in something separate a little bit ago. That there could be situations where you need to get together with your siblings to perhaps confront some things with a mother or a father from the past. So that might be coming up for both the masculine and the feminine. All right, so this first read from yesterday, May 13th, 2020. 13 is the death or transformation card, of course. And the day added up to the 22, 4, which is the Fool. And that's from the numerology deck, the Divine Triangle. And they're both 4s. We're on that never happens, but now we're on that 4 path where both the month, the day, and the day at what it adds up to are the same number. So 13 is a 4 and 22 is a 4. So which is very 3D, because 4s are all about survival. Okay, it's all about how to manifest in this world. You know, the people who really easily go out and get jobs all the time, no matter what. Those are like 4 people. It's so easy for them to get job. 8 is even stronger than that, because 8 has to do with manifesting your dreams, as opposed to 4 of manifesting, building, and creating, and survival on this planet. So, and I wanted to bring up 2 on the 10th. On my 10th read, probably a read, it was just probably a small read I did that I didn't actually present to you guys. 4 6s came up on May 10th. And I didn't realize that till yesterday when someone's video came up with that title in it about HR 6666, which I wasn't aware of because I don't watch the news. So, yeah, that was important since the 4 6s came up. And it was really interesting because a lot of 6s came up in my read that day, in the past couple days actually. And don't forget that humans were created on the 6th day. And there was something that came up online too. This was from Job chapter 2, page 25. It said that there's the 9 orders of 6666 legions of 6666 angels equals 39992004. So that came up too. Okay, so as I was getting into this first read yesterday, Jurassic Park sounds came up when I heard the birds outside. They sounded like the Jurassic Park birds. It was so weird. So that's definitely an energy coming up, right? There may be some dinosaurs that may want to growl at you a little bit. The SIRIAN Starseed deck was cut and dealt at 6:20 to 21 a.m. yesterday. Not last night, but the night before. I didn't sleep at all. I was up all night. So the SIRIAN Starseed deck was cut at 6:20 to 21. 6 is the lovers, 20 and 21 are judgment and the world, completion. And then again, today's day is 22. So going into the Fool, the new start, that leap of faith. The read was completed at 6:38 to 39, which is the 38 of the Queen of Cups and the 39 of the Knight of Cups, which actually just happens to be my soul number and my twin soul number. Very interesting. And then we have the major arcana here for this first read. We're Hanging Man, Justice and Abundance, and before the read was Tower. Abundance is like the Empress card. And then we had 3 swords, 2 cups, and 3 wands. There were no pentacles in the read yesterday. And again, this was yesterday morning. The only court card in the read yesterday was the Knight of Cups. Before the read, the King of Swords came up, and after the read, the Knight of Pentacles and Queen of Cups came up. So those cards have to do with, I pull a few cards on either end of the read each day, depending on what I'm guided to do. It's usually 3 or 4 cards on either side. So that's what I mean by before the read and after the read. As far as the numbers and the code line today, or for yesterday's read, we had compassion and domestic harmony. And we had double 3s and double 7s. 33 is the Christ vibration and the 7 of Wands, standing up for yourself. And then 77 is the sovereign energy of the 9 of Pentacles. The other numbers that came up in a lesser sense, we had 323, which can reference the 3 of Gaia and the abundance and the Empress, and the 23 of the King of Wands. Or it can also be 32 of the journey, the 6 of Wands and the 3 of the abundance and Gaia and the Empress. We also had the number 1 come up, which is the Magician. 13, which is the transition card, which was separate from the date today, which says the second time it came up. 37, which is the King of Cups. 35 is the 9 of Wands, the Wounded Warrior. 57, and Warriors came up in the read today too. 57 is the 3 of Swords, and 78 is the 10 of Pentacles. So regarding compassion and domestic harmony, which were the numerology cards on the code line that I read from, and my code line is made up of a lot of acronyms that come up from the cards in my read. I have the key. Instead of Christmas, it was coming up as key mass, or the number 7 mass, and 7 is the chariot as well. So the mass of the chariots, the feminine and the masculine, and the chariot ascending, so which is the key. So instead of Christmas, the key mass, or the chariot, or the divine feminine and the masculine mass of the alternating currents and air conditioning of the Antichrist, which is not, it's considered Satan too in the way the words are coming up, but it's about before Christ and after Christ, right? So we have alternating current, air conditioning, which has to do with conditioning the masculine thinking man, the logical man, to open up his heart, and then the Antichrist, which is before Christ, and bridging the H, or the number 8, because 8 equals 8, but the H is also 2 4s sitting together like stacked chairs, and I always say the 44 is the 3D energy, and the 8 is the 5D energy of the dance of the masculine and feminine. So the diva department was coming up here of chalices, which has to do with emotions and heart. And then I was getting the HA, which is the 81 of the end of karma, but also exclamation of like I caught you, or whatever it is, some kind of surprise. And then the I-Re was coming up, has to do with the shaman energy, because Re is an Indian tribe. So the I am presence and the shaman energy regarding compassion and domestic harmony. So even if you're not getting along at home, to create harmony at home anyway, especially when you're stuck together with other people that you don't necessarily want to be with, and then have compassion for yourself and the others with you. So the chariot, or the 7, the feminine within the masculine, and that mass, that coming together, that communion of Sophia, the collective consciousness of the feminine, bridging the 8 of the dance between your inner masculine and feminine as the diva department, right? Focusing on the feminine doesn't mean they're going to be all sweet, because some feminine energy can be very diva-like and want to have their way all the time. So diva department of heart and emotions, the end of karma with 81, and the I am presence. IR, and also this is coming up as IR and EE. So I, shaman, and divine feminine. So it's like the shaman masculine along with the divine feminine, which toggles up is more the etheric energy. And the shaman is very much of the land, using the earth. Okay, so the chariot with air conditioning across the key mass of the divine masculine to feminine, divine masculine to feminine. So fluctuating back and forth, just like we go up and down from the 3D to 5D. And then that bridge and gateway of the dance between them. So the dance isn't just vertical, it's horizontal too. It's the 3D to the 5D, and then from the masculine to the feminine. The diva department, the divine IV, Knight of Cups, which was coming up as Harry or Harry. So that was so much coming up as Sex in the City and Harry. So definitely there may be a lot of masculines out there who may be very hairy, and maybe they're self-conscious about that. But that was coming up in reference to the shaman energy as well, being very natural and letting it all hang out. So then some of this, just a couple things came up online for this one. This was from ascensionnow.co.uk. Karmic debts are defined when the number 19 is reduced from 1, the number 1, core element. And this was a numerology site talking about core numbers. So in numerology, you always reduce things to a single digit. So they were talking about the specific numbers 13, 14, 16, and 19 as karmic numbers. So 13, reducing it to 4 is saying that your karma has to do with the number 4, and so on. So 14 is a 5, 16 is a 7, and 19 is a 1. But there we're discussing these as the karmic numbers, if you have them as a core number. So you have a soul number, you have an outer personality number, you have a destiny number, and a life lesson number. So if one of these numbers is a core number in your makeup, they were saying that that's some kind of karma that you're working out in this life. So then the other site was coming up, 2 Corinthians 8, 1-15, when God owns it all. And that was from the site abideinchrist.com. So Paul repeats grace 7 times in the 8th chapter and 3 times in the 9th. The grace of God, and then in Greek, equals something beautiful as opposed to something ugly, or strength as opposed to weakness, and I'm just paraphrasing here, health as opposed to illness, and love as opposed to hate. But in the New Testament, grace equals incarnation of God's Son, his death and resurrection. Donations, it is looked upon as a gift of thanksgiving. Here's the thanksgiving to God. That's so funny it came up. So in this, it is looked upon as a gift of thanksgiving to God, grace of generosity, and then given back to those who believe, the believers. So from Matthew 6:21, where Jesus was saying, where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. So that comes up with the card. Make sure you know what you value, and there's no right answer, because a lot of people value different things, which is all perfect. Just make sure you're not selling yourself as something you're not. When you're selling yourself as truly authentic to what you love and what means something to you, then you're going to pull in just the right energy to accompany you. And so the point with these verses had to do with God comes first, because God owns everything. Okay, because God is the collective. So we all own everything of everything. We are all one. So ultimately, your only true loyalty can be to your higher self, because that's the collective consciousness. So then I was looking at chalices for some reason, and I was getting a butt connected that time at 7:46 in the morning, yesterday morning. So the key mass of the stacked chairs, and Atlantic City was coming up here too, but bridging the diva department, Atlantic City is all about the diva department, of chalices and cups, ending or karma, I am presence, and the re, or the shaman. So getting into this first read at 7:56 a.m. yesterday was the Ace of Swords reversed, and below that was the Tower upright and the King of Swords upright. So in a split, divide, or lies, or in the need for clarity, cutting through the BS, after sudden event or epiphany of the King of Swords upright, being in his truth. Holding back time, money, and effort, an offer of a new life, feeling shy, vulnerable, rejected, spoiled, or entitled. Working to connect, now that the worst is over, of being left out in the cold, left behind by cancer, or now somebody's with a car, or got their ride issue fixed. In a bold move, travel, ascending, or feeling like they were hit by a Mack truck, or shit-faced, and like me, because I hadn't slept all night when I wrote this. Grieving the wounded warrior is aroused by the Knight of Swords' message in need of peace. Being pushed aside, left behind as not good enough, two bare trees, while those in the cotton fields were reaping luxury. So, of course, this is referencing or paralleling the slave and the slave owners. The messengers, and this was at 8:08, by the way. I wanted to tell you that too. When I did the calculator, my birthday is September 18th, but when I did the calculator for the other calendar, my birthday came up as 8/8, so I thought that was really cool. My parents' anniversary is 8/9. So anyway, the messenger of truth's sword connects rights to his groin. So it's coming up like if the messenger of truth is the feminine coming in with her truth, the sword of the messenger of truth is connecting right to the masculine's groin. Peddler in the village, antiquated, so anti's coming up again here. At 8:09, which then is my parents' anniversary, 8 being strength and 9 is the hermit, of course. Antiquated was then coming up as before the Quakers. Fred Flintstone, in fact, and the messenger of truth may be over his head, or thinks they're from the other side of the tracks. The whistleblower full speed ahead, no peace for the weary, aroused by a new point of view, totally different perspective, seeing from the other side, without peace and nowhere to hide, as comes from inside. Injustice of the Queen of Wands reversed, out with the Hierophant, Taurus, religious leader or establishment and or community, or Taurus, King of Pentacles reversed, or Libra reversed and Queen of Pentacles reversed and the King of Pentacles reversed, are all at church or synagogue or whatever temple you go to together, and no one is happy about it. Or the Queen of Wands reversed is a Taurus and the King of Pentacles reversed is a Libra, or vice versa. Unfair that the Hierophant, Taurus, marriage, religion, or establishment came between the King of Wands reversed and the King of Pentacles reversed. All male board or leading a group of any kind, but it's like someone outside the masculine's self gets to decide on the fate of the Queen of Wands reversed and the King of Pentacles reversed. So keep an open mind came up for the masculine, and beneath that was it is safe to love. So it is safe to love, and then keep an open mind. They may differ from your usual type and expectations. So that's about letting go of the outcomes. The King of Cups reversed, out with dessert, and the Five of Wands reversed, with no more spying or peeping in on other couples. The Chariot divided and two bulls split, red flag hanging above them, no direction, no one telling them what to do, so they're confused a bit, disoriented, unsure which way to turn. The Page of Wands reversed is frustrated with no romance, expressing feelings, though along with energetic exchange in a sexual sense, as the frog to the prince is not finished growing or merging, playing and going on a treasure hunt down her back. Pulling down the devices to truly connect and express, now he knows how she feels. Getting screwed, the two bulls chained up with nowhere to go, can't leave the house to spy, drink, or manipulate, and no one to save them. And then change came up, number 5, and beneath that was physical activity, which is 67, the Knight of Pentacles. And so that's also the Hierophant and the Knight of Pentacles. So dumping an option or options or activities, getting realistic and purging emotional attachments, clinging in the never-ending story, near death, dead tired, dark night, and heartbreak and separation, and losing hope, needing to heal, perhaps a meal too. Unhappy, dissatisfied, or just unable to be around drinkers and partiers, unable to limit their consumption when others can. And I was getting can, so someone's doing the can. Poor judgment, or I was just getting I think I can. So someone keeps wanting to have a positive outlook on something, but it's something that we really shouldn't be exposing them to. Poor judgment, beer bongs, funneling liquor, and that came up today in today's read too. Funneling liquor, deliberation, choking on spit, deliverance, someone didn't wake up after a night out, or were left for dead and unable to cry for help, or holding back an announcement, or all choked up, waiting for a call, or ignoring the wake-up call to action at 8:36, which is strength and the 36 of the 10 of Wands. Perhaps alcohol poisoning, but also direct poisoning. Rat poisoning was coming up in the second read as well. So just so you know that, I want to make sure it gets out there. perhaps alcohol poisoning or passed out drunk after a night out or with the girls. Scorpio reversed and Aquarius reversed times 2, the day the music died, and almost a person. Waiting for final judgment in split or divide, unable to find peace or irreconcilable differences, of the King of Pentacles reversed, expressing arrows of love and energetic exchange and change, or perhaps waiting to see if they can get an annulment of sorts or permissions from a religious leader. The recent past is the Seven of Swords reversed, coming clean or getting clean, and the King of Swords present and bored with himself, or being ignored by Leo reversed, or ego reversed, or Leo out of control, healing and trying to forgive, working hard to resist drama, explosions, eruptions, or blowing their top, crown or cover, sudden events and or epiphanies now that the worst is over, of feeling like a failure, or keeping things under the radar with the world, sealed divine feminine, or getting closure now, completing a cycle, the hermit shedding light on the tower moments. The towering inferno held over the King of Swords' head for deliberating so long in a split. The foundation here is the Three of Wands upright, presently expressing feeling energetic exchange, lots of communication and travel, perhaps depressed wounded warrior. The Knight of Pentacles offering help to the High Priestess reversed, needing to use their intuition regarding sharing with others, or now that the secret's out, someone who can't keep a secret. The Knight of Pentacles, over flurry of activities, passion is out over the Aquarius reversed, or loss of hope and a need to heal, settling out or dealing with red tape over the wounded warrior's head, perhaps a Taurus, so they are unable to see red. And that's referencing back to the other card where the red is hung over the bulls so they can't see them, right? Because then they won't charge. And that can have to do with financial charging as well as attacking physically. So they are unable to see red. The central energy here is the Five of Swords reversed, post-war PTSD, or the need to apologize, as the frog expands into a prince. Choosing a new path, stuck in thoughts without peace, and jealousy or insincerity, a refusal to give or receive love, or feeling rejection, defenseless to energies, or feeling ganged up on. Perhaps got beat up in childhood. Received new information or clarity, and the challenge being the Knight of Cups reversed, who drowned in their coffee cup, dumping emotional attachments or trying not to notice the synchronicities of the divine feminine. Performing, juggling, keeping the balls up in the air while running a marathon, or just always rushing somewhere to save the day or relieve someone. Sunshine, kids, happiness, exposure to holding on or clinging too tightly to things that don't matter, or trying to keep money away from kids and or a Leo at 858, which is strength, and the Four of Swords, which has to do with rest, taking a break, praying, meditating, connecting the 5D, and things being slow and unstable at home, moving or ending a marriage. At 858, which is strength, and then the Four of Swords again, or they're ending, canceling large gatherings that they're not allowed to have right now. The worst is over of ending pain or a painful ending and or betrayal. Released from cheating scenario or energetic vampiring, exposed in connection with 5D lover and closing the distance gap. Needing strength, courage to not let others tackle you or pin you down without your permission. In other words, not being forced. The Knight of Swords is stunned at what he sees, or Ben-Hur and the Hermit are unhappy without their big love together. Now is the Three of Cups reversed, third party, negative groups, negative influences and or associations, or gossip, social distancing, overindulgences with the world, the divine feminine sovereign in an uncomfortable place to extend an opportunity or invitation, or kids are getting closure, but they're still in those uncomfortable energies between them, and they could be kids who are mad at each other. The Nine of Pentacles and the Page of Pentacles came up together. So the Magician is manifesting help to come clean or get clean with a new passion, new creativity, while choking on their words or holding back an announcement. The Magician may be insecure without their tools, and the Emperor reversed and out of control with their abuse of power, or going through ego death, stepping down, getting too old to do what they're doing, or just getting too old to function at this level of performance anymore. Or Virgo reversed or Gemini reversed, and an Aries reversed, both hurting today. They may have been out drinking, and that's why someone might have almost died last night, drinking too much. Two are judged sweetly in negative talk or rumors, or the silent treatment or negative self-talk, as the Queen of Cups reversed is without affection or a lover, or not told that a final judgment came in. And Aquarius, Aries, or Leo, Gemini, or Scorpio is free to walk in the sun now, or to expose negative past to soulmate of deep bond about nightmare about the 5D world and the divine feminine, and announcing that they're unhappy alone and with unhappy family unfulfilled, with a negative past and or difficult kids, or the past returning with a new passion and burning the past to close the distance gap. Needing courage to awaken to Leo or ego out of control, and no peace for the Knight of Swords warrior, stunned into submission as the Hermit heals in separation and or heartbreak. Soon as the Hangman awake, seeing synchronicities of the messenger of truth, the patient angel perhaps seeing a mother, a graduate, a mother, a grandmother, or aunt who has passed. So someone might be seeing someone who's passed away already, so connecting in the etheric realms. The King of Cups reversed, exposed by Hermit or an investigation, and implementing a plan for a higher love. Patience of the King of Wands reversed, or Sagittarius King of Wands reversed. Perhaps the King of Wands reversed is calling out his younger brother, who used to be his best friend, or Hermit exposed both the King of Wands reversed and the King of Cups reversed, who may be up to no good, interfering with his messages or getting drunk on the job, the Divine Masculine awake to stuff going on right under his nose. And or unofficial people accessing protected health information or other information at 934, which is the Hermit, and the 8 of Wands, which is that a lot of information going back and forth, communication or travel, but just fast-paced back and forth. Or perhaps somebody was audited, as we go to 935, which 35 is the wounded warrior, the 9 of Wands, and now they have to make a plan on how to correct the problem, or no longer being a part of another's underhanded activities, or intercepting another's messages, whether it was illegal or immoral, or tampering with any kind of confidential information. The masculine sees himself as the 8 of Wands, fired up, as new information and clarity comes in from or about the 10 of Pentacles, family, business, legacy, and or community, at night being offered sex or sexual energy exchange, or offered that to Cancer or false light or shadow energy coming up here, and feels guilty about it. So whatever he's offering or receiving at night, feeling guilty about it, not sleeping and rising above to release self from prison, and the Queen of Pentacles reversed over the 10 of Pentacles, family, business, or community, or the Queen of Pentacles released from family or business, perhaps for spending money that wasn't hers to spend. Or an investigation is over now with a few dings, or perhaps had to let the Queen of Pentacles reverse go, but lost a lot of sleep about it. Past life relationship came up here in honeymoon, and playfulness for the Divine Masculine, and around him or how he is seen is the Justice card reversed, unfair, suffering in silence or stressed out, purging, with the Devil, Capricorn, or codependencies always waving or staring them in their face. The Page of Wands reversed is frustrated, perhaps having temper tantrums or pie, post-war PTSD, while Capricorn is free to leap or throwing it in their face. Libra reversed, Capricorn upright, Aries upright here too. Clear Divine Masculine, the blocks around the lack mentality, or just lack of abundance, or loss of a mother or mother figure, or Taurus reversed, or Libra reversed, Taurus reversed in a split. One dealing with the devil and the other free to roam. A losing battle in a split, lies, or getting clarity in the awakening process, implementing a plan. Domestic harmony came up, compassion, and even more so for the masculine today was nature, to allow things to happen naturally, and also working with nature, hiking in nature, touching nature, all of those things. And the Queen of Cups reversed, hurt in sexual betrayal, carrying a heavy burden, defenseless to drama, energies, and attacks, being ganged up on, especially by patriarchal controllers. Healing as Hermit misses their flame, unhappy without the big love connection through work or any place of co-creation. The Queen of Swords comes clean by speaking her truth about sneaky shit and shade, and the Knight of Pentacles is proposing to third party under the radar, to the Queen of Cups reversed, receiving an offer of love from the King of Wands reversed, with his back turned, proposing to come together at work to co-create, or perhaps come together in a divine marriage. So the Ace of Swords is reversed in a split after all hell broke loose, For the King of Swords, or that he had an epiphany, presently expressing feelings in an energetic exchange, and the injustice of holding back their downloads and not having shared them with the feminine. And that was at 9:59, which is the Hermit and the Five of Swords. So post-war, within of the Frog to Prince war, and challenged by jealousy, insincerity in the awakening idea, a new idea, or ego of the Empress reversed, negative influences, gossip, social distancing, and or third party, and feeling defenseless, to then proposal at 10:02 of the Wheel of Fortune and the High Priestess, proposal to the Queen of Cups reversed, of help, money, or opportunity, while the King of Wands reversed offers big love with their back turned. Perhaps if she refuses, the Knight of Pentacles offer will have to do it himself. So it could be the masculine like sending somebody else in with a message, but just having a backup plan. Perhaps turned away, not wanting them to see them cry as well. So they might have turned away because they didn't want them to see their face. Or angry, he must offer love in order to get them to work for them. Or as third party proposes under the radar, the King of Wands reversed proposes love, but they're too tired to work at the moment. So centrally with this read, it was all about post-war jealousy and defenselessness to offer help. Yeah, we went from Six of Cups reversed to the King of Swords upright and the Sovereign upright, which is really good energy. So going from whatever negative memories, negative past or childhood, going into that King of Swords being in their truth energy and then becoming sovereign. So that was really good energy. All right, so now we're going to go on to, my daughter. I had a nice little talk with my daughter yesterday, and I want to share that with you because some cool stuff came up with that as well. I just want to bring up those messages so I don't forget what I was talking about. So, and again, I had my daughter's permission to tell you. I asked her if I could. So my daughter, so she texted me yesterday. She's been having skin issues on and off over the past 5 or 6 years. And just now and then a new patch will come up. So she texted me yesterday at 7:40 because she thought she had psoriasis. And she said they were spreading, that she was having more spots. So, of course, I was in the middle of doing something, so I just texted her right back, doctor, because I can't tell you what you need to do. I'm not a dermatologist. So she texted me back, dermatologist. And then as soon as I texted doctor, I'm like, what am I talking about? We need to stop saying that so quickly. We need to really step back for a minute and know that we have the ability to heal some of this stuff, or at least figure it out. And so I pulled some cards right after that, and I was definitely getting that was correct, that I was being impatient when I texted back doctor, and that she does not need to be a patient. And it was really cool how the cards came up on this. So I reminded her, it might just be some purging that you're going through. And of course, then she texts me back, yeah, but it's been releasing for 2 years now. But I reminded her of some stuff that we had talked about. And then after I did the cards, I was asking her, is there a relationship or a guy that you were really struggling with before this skin issue started? So let's see if we can get to the bottom of this. And after I talked to her on the phone a little bit about that, she was like, well, I'm tired now. I just really don't want to talk. I don't know who it was. I can't remember, blah, blah, blah. I was doing the cards. I realized that it was my twin who was the instigating factor here. And so I texted her that. I said, you trusted him. And my daughter, me and her dad split up when she was 1. So, of course, she's always had abandonment issues, even though her father's always been in her life. He's a very loving person, but he just had other addictive issues. So it's been very hard for her to trust men because her father wasn't there. And then someone I was with for a long time left and didn't really keep communication with her, even though he loved her. He had his own issues. So obviously it's all those kind of issues. So I told her, I said, it's my twin that is the reason for your skin issues. And so I said, because you trusted him. It's just like another man that you can't trust. And then I was, yeah, the card literally was my twin, and it was even his number and everything like that. It was very cool. So, and there was that that energy of betrayal, you know, and perhaps lying and that kind of thing. That was very telling in the situation. And then we were adding up their names, and their first names both added up to the number 20, which is judgment. And as soon as I looked at the cards again to journal them to see what more information I could get about what her skin problem was, I looked at the Ace of Wands reversed and got Michael Jackson in 2 seconds. And of course, you all know that Michael Jackson had a skin issue. So I said to Jen, I said, what's his skin issue called? I just got Michael Jackson. So she texted me back. I don't know how to pronounce it. Is it vitiligo, however it's pronounced. But anyway, what it is the growth of melanin, or no growth of melanin, where the cells that produce it die. And I was getting that, you know, this may be her going through this skin issue, and she's acting right now. Maybe her platform of something that she's understood well, so that she can connect with others like her, and perhaps speak on behalf of herself and Michael Jackson, because he would have had the same issue. And so this disease is an autoimmune disease where your body is attacking and destroying the cells that make color. And I just discussed with someone in a session that I had the hour before, my daughter texted, that I have trouble, my clairsentience and my claircognizance is very strong. But my clairsentience, I don't usually see color. I do sometimes, but not always. So usually it's just more distinguishing between shadowy energy. So I see things, but it's hard for me to see because I don't see things in bright colors. So I just said, in my session, I'd said, yeah, I have trouble seeing color in my clairvoyance. And then here, this wound is coming up for my daughter, which obviously is attached to me too, that your body is destroying the cells that make color. How profound. And I said to her, you must have been a black man wounded by his color in your past life. Your body is trying to get rid of it. And my daughter's preference in men is she likes black guys. So it's really funny. She lives in Atlanta, and her body's literally trying to get rid of color because of a wounding from a past life. And not only that, but I told her about my thing with my session that I just had. And it's funny too, because Jenna's friends, they always call her a snow bunny because she's whiter than white. She's really white. But my twin also has a connection to Atlanta, and she didn't know that. So all this stuff is coming up is that wound of whatever color, and it doesn't have to be, it can be any color skin where you lived at that time that wasn't accepted. So literally, when you have skin issues, it's your body rejecting color for her. And for other issues where people, like my mother, would scratch herself incessantly. You know, she refused anyone's advice and just would scratch herself. She's just kept complaining that she had oily skin, but it's literally her trying to scratch her skin off because of a wound. And this is so important for us to understand so that we can learn to heal ourselves. So even she got this. She just said, wow, wow. Yeah. And the hairy thing was coming up too, right? So if you have dark hair, you might want to get rid of that color, or whatever hair issues you might have been wounded by in a past life, which made you different than the accepted norm at that time. So then, of course, Sex and the City always comes up with Harry and Harry. Yeah, so I wanted to share that with you. So please comment if there's anything you want to connect with about that, or if you had something similar happen. So that was pretty cool. So she had been told that it was some kind of fungus that she got when she was out of college. So I'm hoping that this leads to some kind of stopping of her issue. That would be great. And I'll let you guys know if that's true. So I wanted to share that with you. Yin yang. All right, so really, getting balanced always comes up, and sharing. Metatron was coming up at that time too after that call. Because that Metatron's like so that number 6 is coming up too, like the 6th day humans were made. And then Metatron is the card for the third eye, which is the 6th chakra. Or in other words, the thinker, the logical man, the collective mind, the yin yang. And the divine masculine and feminine hostilities were coming up with the door to spirit and happy family. And again, the happy family card just came up for you guys. So for the union read, which I showed you the union read in the beginning, so you can take a snapshot of that if you want to reference back to it. The union read was done at 9:42 last night. 9 is the Hermit, 42 is the Two of Cups. And we're at 50, which is the family card. Again, that's that 10 of Cups. That's pretty funny. 50-10. So under the union read, we had the underlying energy of the Page of Cups, and then the central energy was the 8 of Wands, which is that arrows of love and other energies going back and forth, energetic exchange between the masculine and the feminine. So the innocent love of the Page of Cups expressing energetic exchange and arrows of love, but with that really innocent love. The underlying divine feminine going into the read was full exposure to meditation, perhaps on the beach or by water, but in the union. And remember, water always represents emotions, so it doesn't have to be by the water. It can just be in the environment of a lot of water around you, right? If you're stuck with other people around the house, kids, right, who are very emotional right now. So, excuse me, whether it's in your union or at home. And the 3D energies for the feminine was the shaman of the King of Wands, the shaman being in her masculine, and the divine masculine is suffering in silence, but also could be dealing with a sister. And the two of them in the 3D being bridged by the 9 of Pentacles, which is their sovereignty, which was perfect. That T toggling up in their sovereignty. The 4D was coming up as the divine feminine grieving, which I wasn't grieving, but I was like a zombie because I had no sleep that last night. And then the divine masculine going through the frog to prince energy of the 5 of Swords and bridged by the 8 of Wands, expressing their feelings in that energetic exchange and arrows of love. The 5D line for the masculine and feminine was the feminine in the moon or the Luna energy, shadowy and unclear as the divine masculine, karma, driving mother's car, perhaps last year's model was coming up. And then instead of driving Miss Daisy, it was coming up driving Mr. Daisy. But then I was also watching the movie The Wrong Missy last night. So it's literally like the wrong one. You by accident, you got hooked up with the wrong person. And that's, if you want to watch that movie, it's kind of cute. And then bridging the 5D with the Eye of the Tiger, Rocky Balboa, Snake, Philadelphia Museum of Art. The divine feminine, the shaman, grieving, ayahuasca by the full moon perhaps, eye drops actually for me, and the divine masculine suffering in silence are dealing with his sister, stretching from the frog to the prince atop Mount Everest mattress with karma running from the slaves that he killed in his last life. So there's definitely wounds coming up from that as well. So the bridge here overall is the sovereignty. And it was really cool because if you draw a circle, for me, I always tell you the circle is the human embodiment of source, so it represents a human. If you take like a shutter lens of a camera and you draw 6 lines, and you know this number 6 has been coming up like crazy for the past couple days. If you draw the shutter, just draw a circle really light, and then extend from that circle 6 lines going around like a shutter would. If you do those lines dark, and then all of a sudden just draw in the circle a little bit more, I want to show it to you. Look how it comes up. It literally looks like a Merkaba. And I wasn't meaning to do that, but that's how it came up. So the Merkaba was coming up with the 6 shutters. Mercy, Abba was coming up, as well as the pupil being the vortex, or the pupil or the student is the vortex or 0 point of shutter is land, or I have to say this again. The pupil or student is the vortex or 0 point of shutter, isle, and I, land. Filling the gaps of human shutter, shut your mouth, I was getting, and sovereign bridging the color wheel to show you all the colors that are real. So what goes up must come down. So spinning wheel was coming up, got to go round. Talk about your, and it's supposed to be talk about your troubles, but I was getting mother. Talk about your mother as a crying sin. Rhine a pain a pointy, let the spinning wheel spin. Did you find a directing sign on the straight and narrow highway? Would you mind a reflecting sign? Just let it shine within your mind and spirits connecting with me and show you the colors that are real. All right, so someone is waiting just for you. Spinning wheel, spinning through. Drop all your trouble by the riverside. Catch a painted Bengal tiger on the spinning wheel ride. And the lyrics are literally ha there. So the HA comes up again. Ha. That's the 81 of the end of karma. Let the spinning wheel fly. And this is blood, sweat, and tears. So the blood, sweat, and tears are the fluids of your life. Just like cotton is the fabric of your life, blood, sweat, and tears, the fluids of your life. So you lose a little, you'll replenish. Ish, dish, Yiddish, gibberish. IS is strong, dancing dish. The YI, satellite dish, or satellite and dish. The GI, boorish, live strong, stronghold, hold Brit, British. And by the way, Brit is whale food. It's like pond scum, you know, what the whales eat, all the little stuff in the water. So live strong, stronghold, hold Brit, that whale food, and then British. Live strong, die weak, weak hold, twin peak. So that was at 1141, which is justice and the ace of cups. So solar or souls are to crystal work or crystal work as beach family home for two. And the summary here from the union read equals the Two of Wands, or in other words, the twin flames, which it actually is in this deck, the SIRIAN Starseed deck, burning strong. So I did the grid of numbers for my union read, and the main number came out to 66, which is the Queen of Pentacles. The one row of numbers came out the 2, 18, and 46, which is the High Priestess, the Moon, and the Six of Cups. So secret or psychic, twins, Moon, and the end to karma for the Emperor. So the other row was 44, 5, 17, 14, 8, 10, and 4. So mastering, receiving love, being the Hierophant, the star, and the angel. So literally coming up for the masculine, mastering, receiving love by being the hero, the star, and the angel all in one. And then I went to bed right after that at 11:55. But there were so many double numbers that came up in this grid for this union read. 44 came up, 22 came up, 585. Everything was balanced. 99, 22 I said already. And then 81, which came up again. That's at HA, the end of karma. And fours and nines are supposed to be lucky numbers for me. So 44, 99, 585, 81, and 22 were all the numbers that came up in that grid, along with the total number, which was 66, the Queen of Pentacles. All right, so that was the union read after the wrong Missy. Oh, what I wanted to tell you too. Hold on one second. I just remembered something. I watched a movie, I think, oh yeah. I'd watched on yesterday. I watched What a Girl Wants, and I'd watched it a long time ago already, but I wanted to watch it before because I knew it was a light movie and it would be something nice. But I watched What a Girl Wants on the 13th. And the movie, I literally finished watching it at 1:44 a.m. and the movie was literally 144 minutes long. Really cool. So I started watching it right at midnight, which is when Cinderella changes back into, you know, her normal girl. And I watched it from 12 to 144, and it was 144 minutes long, and I finished at 144, so really cool. All right, so guys, the read in front of you, and we have more really cool stuff coming up. So get ready. All right, it's 5836, and that's the Four of Swords and the 10 of Wands. So taking a rest and letting go of your burdens. Really cool information coming up with this read, guys, so please stay tuned. If it's too much for you, because I realize it's a lot of information, take a break here and then come back when you're ready to read this, to do this read, because this one's important. So this one's the one in front of you. And I'm going to do a little more clearing as we start this read. All right, so read number 2 for the Divine Masculine Twin Flames. And let's pull another energy card to see what comes up for you guys. And notice the cards standing up in this read, the Three of Cups and the Transition or Death card there. Because that's some energy that came out from one of the decks that didn't want to stay in, but it wasn't meant to go out on the table. So those are coming up as as major energies for the read. So for everybody watching, the best and highest good of those concerned, what do we need to know? What do we need to learn for this read? What is important for everyone to shift to in this energy? The contract. 6 is the Lovers. And there's the thinking woman of the 47. 47 being the 7 of Cups, the synchronicities, the options, heaven in their eyes, and perhaps dumping all the other options, dumping emotional attachments, getting clear on what you want, what you value, perhaps letting go some activities or stuff around the house that you no longer need. But this may be a reference to a woman who's very logical, who's all about books and reading and logical things. Okay, and that could be a karmic energy around the divine masculine. These 2 cards are coming up too. The indecision of choosing a new path and taking the temple path, okay? And that's 12, having to do with wisdom. And this is being strong with the number 8. But there's a lot of root chakra here, fear of what path to take, or perhaps fear of taking the path of the unknown. And there comes Archangel Metatron again, who hovers over the masculines. So perhaps the person who's with them, they connect with on a very logical level, or vice versa. They don't with their current partner, and they do with their twin. Which is really funny, because then these 2 cards come up. The Healer of the Ages along with the Garden and the Gate, which is a big difference in the energies here. Someone who's very mature healer, and here's the little girl over here, scared to come out and play. And then here's the bridge of coming across the bridge. Oh, I just got reminded to tell you something else I forgot to tell you. Coming across the bridge in order to grow up and come out and play. The underlying energy here is the woman holding a heart. All right, as opposed to the logical thinking woman with a contract, all right? Because this is like money versus love, okay? All right, so the other thing I forgot to tell you, not today, but the past couple days when I went into my little girl to see what she was doing, the first one of, I don't know if it was yesterday and the day before, or 2 days ago and the day before, but either way, it was important to tell you. The first time I went in, I saw my little girl was an infant. So of course I picked her right up. She needed to be held. And when I asked, where's my twin? And I kept looking, but I didn't see. And then finally the masculine was an adult. No. First he was about 7 or 8 years old as he came up, but my inner child was an infant. So I picked up my infant child, myself, and then the 7 or 8 year old masculine walked up to me. And then all of a sudden, as that happened, because I was an adult there with my baby inner self and the 7 or 8 year old masculine, all of a sudden his adult showed up and we all huddled together, the 4 of us, in a big group hug. It was really beautiful. The second day, my inner child was a crazy teenager, like with jet black, crazy hair all up. I don't know what she was doing with her hair, but she was like digging like a dog into the dirt. I don't know what she was trying to find, but she was just really like rushing all over the place, looking for stuff, packing. And I kept asking her, where's the divine masculine? And she kept just pointing over to the left, over to the left, over to the left. I'm like, what? And she was just busy, like, like a cartoon where they're just rushing back and forth, trying to get everything done at once. And so when I finally see the masculine standing over on the left, it's like a father standing at the door waiting for their teenage daughter to clean up their room. And it was like the adult playing games with them. So trying to get them to do what they wanted them to do, manipulating them by making it a game for them, saying, like saying to them, I bet you couldn't clean this room up in 10 minutes. Maybe something that would normally take an hour. So it's like the feminine trying to please him or feeding into his game, as opposed to standing in her sovereignty and realizing she doesn't have to do that. She doesn't have to please him. She has to please herself first. And if that's what's pleasing her, that's fine. But anyway, that energy was coming up. And she was like literally digging into the dirt like a dog would, with her hands. So and it could have to do with digging up dirt as well, digging up old wounds, right? Looking for something to be mad at him about. So I just wanted to put that out there so you guys realize what energies were coming up. All right, so the read in front of you guys, the SIRIAN Starseed deck was cut at 1050 to 51. 50 is the 10 of Cups and 51 is the King of Swords. That's when it was cut and dealt. And then at 10:59, that 5 of Swords, but it's also the minute before the hour, right? So the 11th hour, my angel was coming up as I was dealing out the clarification cards. At 11:01, I was done the Universal Golden Tarot cards that I was putting out, which started the My Angel thing, because that was the first card out. And it ended the row with the Page of Cups coming out. But I was getting that kind of spoiled entitlement energy. But it wasn't reversed. It ended up coming up upright. So then, what number came up? There was a number that came up. Why did I write this down? 0138. So 0138 came up, but I was also interpreting that as 013. 13 is like a B, right? If you write 1 and 3 next to each other, it's like a B that's separated. But if you put it on its belly, it's literally the W with the line over it, which also is another symbol for pi. So it becomes 0, that W, and then an 8. And so beta came up, and the word beta means volatility, which then connected with the vitiligo, the Michael Jackson skin issue. They're very similar words there. So there was a connection there. And also beta references the feminine because it's the second letter, whereas the A is more the leader, the masculine energy. And then Obi-Wan Kenobi was coming up again, which he's come up before, but now he's coming up again. So Obi-Wan Kenobi. Oh, that's why the Obi. When I write OB colon for the masculine read, and the colon always looks like the number 8. So the 0138 was coming up from that, and the read was finished at 11:21, which is justice and the world being also completion. So I don't know much about Star Wars, although I've seen the main movies. I'm not someone who makes sure to see all of the movies, so I haven't kept up with the story, so I always have to look it up. So I looked up information about Obi-Wan Kenobi, and it was very interesting. The first thing that came up was that he died at 0 BBY, which has to do with the war, the battle of Yavin. And that's just like Christ, 0. We go from 0. So it wanted us to come to that realization, because how many other movies have a Christ-like date of 0? They don't. It's so funny how this stuff comes up. So Obi-Wan Kenobi, his cover name was Ben when he didn't want them to know that he was a pilot, right? So he was Luke's mentor, and also his father's mentor, Anakin, who became Vader. And this, by the way, was from Goodreads. So I opened the Obi-Wan Kenobi quotes, and there were 23 quotes from Obi. So the one I wrote down here was, who is more foolish, the fool or the fool who follows him? And by the way, this Goodreads was from The Final Judgment, which was number 20. And I just told you that my daughter's name and my twin's name both add up to 20. So The Final Judgment. And then, there's 5 coming up. Oh, and then when I underlined The Final Judgment, it looked like the lines of phi, because phi is one long line with another line parallel that's broken into 2 parts. So the way I wrote the 2 lines was bringing up phi, PHI. So that was funny, because that'll come up in this read as well. So I'm going to read you some more of those. I took a picture so I'd have them for you of the Obi-Wan Kenobi quotes, because these were very good ones. Okay. So this is Anakin. Obi-Wan's voice had gone soft, and his hand was warm on Anakin's arm. There is no other Jedi I'd rather have on my side right now, no other man. Anakin turned and found within Obi-Wan's eyes a depth of feeling he had only rarely glimpsed in all their years together, and the pure, uncomplicated love that rose up within him then felt like a promise from the Force itself. So this can be a father-son relationship. So all of these quotes are going to have to do with the masculine, because we're doing the Divine Masculine read. And then it said, I wouldn't have it any other way, Master. I believe his this is there's people commenting on the quotes, on what they meant. Another one was, I am called a great swordsman because I invented a lethal style. But who is greater, the creator of a killing form or the master of the classic form? And then he said, I'm very flattered that you would consider me a master, but really, not a master. The master. Okay. Then we have a phenomenal pilot who doesn't like to fly, a devastating warrior who'd rather not fight, a negotiator without peer who frankly prefers to sit alone in a quiet cave and meditate. Who does that sound like? Sounds like the Divine Masculine. I never claimed to be the chosen one. That was Kikan. Even the council doesn't believe it anymore, so why should you? Because I think you believe it, Obi-Wan said calmly. I think you know in your heart that you are meant for something extraordinary. And you, Master, what does your heart tell you you're meant for? And Obi-Wan replies, infinite sadness. Obi-Wan said, even while smiling. The next one was, fortunately, Luke's unwavering faith in his father's innate goodness had proved to be a stronger force than the power of the dark side. Help us, Julie Wan Kenobi. You're our only hope. For a moment that almost made Julius feel like a hero. And then he remembered, doesn't Obi-Wan die in that movie? When they'd met, Anakin had been a warm-hearted 9-year-old boy with an open nature. He was 12 and a half now, and the years had changed him. He had grown to be a boy who hid his heart. The next one is contemplation of death, brought on by a slight sting of regret, and more than a bit of puzzlement. Until this very moment, he had never realized, he'd always expected, for no discernible reason, that when he died, Anakin would be with him. I may be a country girl who's never been off planet, but even I'm aware that when a Jedi walks up to you, you say, here, have a baby. It's not going to end well. All right, so the next one was very bad joke, Obi-Wan muttered. Do you know, there are times when you and Bail Organa are uncannily alike. So if I'm not saying their names right, I'm sorry. Anakin kept a straight face, just, thank you. That wasn't a compliment, growled Obi-Wan. What's the next one? And then the sons had determined that at the dawn of creation, brothers they were until the younger son showed his true face to the tribe. It was a sin. The elder son attempted to kill his brother, as was only proper, but he failed. Burning, bleeding, the younger son pursued his sibling across the sky. The wily old star fled for the hills in safety, but it was his fate never to rest again, for the younger brother had only exposed his face. The elder had exposed his failure. All right, so just to get some energy about how men think about each other. I am stronger as a part of the Jedi Order than I could ever be alone. And the next one is, you must understand that not even the Jedi know all there is to be known about the Force. No mortal mind can. We speak of the will of the Force as someone ignorant of gravity might say it is the will of a river to flow to the ocean. It is a metaphor that describes our ignorance. The simple truth, if any truth is ever simple, is that we do not truly know what the will of the Force may be. We can never know. It is so far beyond our limited understanding that we can only surrender to its mystery. The next one is, skill is the child of patience. Skill is the child of patience. Until the possible becomes actual, it is only a distraction. Be mindful of what is, not what might be. Kigan used to do this. He used to roam around the galaxy picking up strays. Like me, you mean? Said Anakin tightly. Useless hangers on like me? Useless hangers on like me? The next one was, that's because it is cruel, Obi-Wan, Anakin snapped. Cruel and unfeeling and unworthy of the Jedi Order. He was so like Kigan, this was like arguing with a ghost. The next one was, one of the lessons Obi-Wan needed to learn was to look beneath the surface. Perhaps this was one way. The next one was, every person Obi-Wan ever truly loved, Anakin is it Satine or Satine? I don't know. Padme and Kegon himself came to a terrible end. 3 of them died before his eyes, and the other fell to a fate so bleak that death would have been a gift. Okay, so realize this is for the masculine. Every person Obi-Wan ever truly loved came to a terrible end. So he's afraid to love. And this was a wound that came up with my dad when I was doing some work as well, that they detach themselves from love because, like, my dad grew up in war. So they're afraid, they don't know it, but they're just afraid to love people because if they love them, they will die. That's the wound. So Bail Organa set Leia herself to summon me. When I saw Padme in her so strongly, and even a little of Anakin too, I knew my exile was nearly at an end. The next one was Seam's Commander 110 finally came to his senses too, because then he says we don't need to see his identification. Bless. I almost yelled, but I kept it contained. These are not the droids you're looking for, old guy says. And he was right. He was so right. It was like, of course, they're not. 110 agreed, and then old guy says he can go about his business. And I'm like, yes, yes, old guy, say that. And 110 agrees again. Word for word, in fact. Move along, this remarkable little geezer says. Commander 110 nods, move along, and then, because he's 110 and he can't help himself, he repeats it for good measure. The next one was, they are closer than friends, closer than brothers. Though Obi-Wan is 16 standard years, Anakin's elder, they have become men together. Neither can imagine life without the other. The war has forged their 2 lives into one. Okay, so I just hope you like that, if you could appreciate that. I'm going to share with you too the hobos language too. That was so funny. All right, so where are we here? So Obi was born planet, I can't say these names right, Stujon in 57 BBY. So Qui-Gon Jinn was his master, but that was his master after Grandmaster Yoda. In 32 BBY, as we're closing in on 0, he got his Jedi Knight and took on Anakin as an apprentice, whose powers made him arrogant, but good friend and brother, and felt Luke was the chosen one to restore the balance to the Force. So Obi-Wan became a hermit for 20 years, BBY, to 0 BBY, which is when he came forward for the Battle of Yavin. And in light years, that was 3277, and in the other calendar, CRC, was 7977. So Obi dies to save Luke, Leia, Han, and Chewie. And my son's nickname is Chewie. That's funny. So Han and Leia's first son was called Ben because Ben was his code name, and that's the name that Luke always used for him. So people think that they named his son Ben because they had Luke name their son, because that Han wasn't close enough to Obi-Wan to have done that. So also because Han dismissed the power of the Force, like he was the non-believer, like is the masculine energy, and the masculine always comes up as Han. But this could also be the masculine going through his friend having his mentor pass away, or his father, who was a very close mentor to him, pass away, and having them name their first son. So there's going to be some kind of parallels there. So BBY comes up as the year of the war, the battle before the Battle of Yavin, but it's also like bring your own beer, right? So a restaurant that doesn't sell their own liquor. So alcohol is definitely coming up here. And I was getting like at your own risk, no alcohol, bring your own beer. So this read finished at 1121, which is Justice in the World, like I said. The major arcana were Indigo, Alchemy, and Luna. Alchemy is like the Temperance card, and Luna is the moon, of course. And then before the read was Starseed, and after the read was Justice. Starseed's like the Fool. We had 2 cups, 3 pentacles, and 2 wands. There were no sword. Oh yeah, there was 1 sword in this read. 2 pentacles. 2 cups, 3 pentacles, 2 wands, and 1 sword. The court cards were the Knight of Pentacles, the Queen of Swords, and the Queen of Wands. And before the read, the Queen of Pentacles came up, and after the read, the Knight of Swords came up. The only major numbers that came up in this read were 5, 6, 7, and they were all doubled. 5, 6, 7, and 5, 6, 7. And 5, 6, 7 made in heaven, But also more strongly was the 56 of the Two of Swords, being in your knowing and keeping it to yourself. Or it's like for me, that card, there's no such thing as being unaware. You're either in your knowing and you're keeping it to yourself on purpose for a reason, or you're in your knowing and refusing to see so you don't have to deal with the situation. So people pretend not to know so they don't have to deal, but they really do. Because we're all connected to our higher self. We all have that intuition. We can choose to ignore it. So the 5, 6, 7, and 56 came up. So the 55 is there of the Ace of Swords, the truth, and the 66 again of the Queen of Pentacles, and being in their knowing. There were no numbers on the code line today, and there were no numerology cards. No numbers and numerology cards. That rarely happens. So we have 0 point on either end of the message here. And the message was very cool today. It references the AC and the AD. So Antichristum, or the before Christ, and then the after death. So before and after death. And the Antichrist being the feminine energy before Christ, and then the after death energy. So being crazy, madman, all over the place, with alternating currents between the masculine and the feminine, and the air conditioning of the logical man before Christ, the Antichrist. And then being sad, it was S-A-A-A-D, very sad, and the Queen of Swords and Queen of Wands even at 0 point. So it's like the score's been even. So if someone's trying to get even, they got even. And this is can be two women in the masculine's life, or it can be the partner and the divine feminine. However it works out, the Queen of Swords and the Queen of Wands are even. So Han calls his son Ben after his best friend's mentor dies. So Han becomes that mentor, continuing to guide from the other side, like Obi-Wan Kenobi. Okay, so there's a similarity there between Obi-Wan Kenobi and Han, because Obi never really dies because he just comes back as a mentor in the etheric realms. But then in later episodes, Han also comes back from the other side. He becomes like Obi-Wan Kenobi because now he gets the Force. And this is like the masculine all of a sudden coming into his knowing, guiding from the other side. But for the masculine, it's going to be from the 5D. So he doesn't have to actually cross over now to experience being that, now believing in the Force. The other numbers that came up were 14 of the Temperance card, 45 of the 5 of Cups, 67 of the Knight of Pentacles, and 79, which for me is the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. So going back to the code line and being the foe, the enemy, being imitation foe before Christ or Antichrist, and then the letter A by itself was coming up. And I have a whole alphabet of codes now for all the letters and their meanings from what I've gotten in the past 3 years or so. And the letter A for me is about someone who's uncircumcised, and also comes up as Adam or Abe. And so the reflection of that capital A, if you put another capital A on top of the A, it references the virginity of the feminine, the vagina with the hymen still in place. And you notice hymen is high man, one who waits. And then the Abraham and the uncircumcised, foreskin, 4E, skin to touch. Okay, and that references the feminine. So then virgin comes up. So V for me is creation and vagina, and the lowercase I is the chakra system. So virgin literally translates to creation chakra system, urge in the chakra system of Jesus. So literally what causes arousal in the masculine, because they share the same chakra system. So then it was really cool because, as I always tell you, the two keys are the masculine's mouth and the feminine's vagina. So keys 1 and 2. And if you take the V of co-creation, just the capital letter V, and the lowercase o for me is the mouth, which is key 1. If you put the lowercase o on top of the uppercase V, it literally becomes an ice cream cone. So the one that has the ice cream cone is the Empress in the deck, that she holds the key because she's got the ice cream cone. That was so cool. So that was all coming up, and then breaking down the word virgin, which I will get to, but I want to let you know that when you look up VIR under Wiktionary, that virus is one of the definitions from Wiktionary, but also the first header that came up was Wikipedia from, I don't know what country this is, CS? I don't know. CS is the country. But virus was coming up, and also the word fuse was coming up. It was just the definition of VIR in another language, so I couldn't really read it. But Virginia International Raceway came up as VIR as well, which is in Alton, near Danville. My brother's name is Dan. But it's also near the border of North Carolina, which also always comes up for me. Milton, North Carolina, on the Dan River. So my brother was coming up a lot here. Another definition of VIR is robot boy in Hindi, which is a cartoon. And then the definition for VIR, lots of different definitions from Wiktionary. For, wind, virus. To come, so how would that not be in Virgin, right? To come, man, adult, mature, brave, hero, warrior, foot soldier, ahead, whirlpool, source, origin, so you see the jinn comes in there again, courageous, front, here, lie, we, to see, and then L, like the feminine, ELE, that came up as well. This didn't come up as any feminine energy, so I'm not sure what that reference was. But it could be an elephant type reference as well. So that was at 1244, which is the hangman and the 44 of the Four of Cups, mastering, grounding, and integrating the receival, the allowing of yourself to receive love. And the word of the day from Wiktionary was Quantrell, Quaintrelle. So that ELLE came up again, which is a woman focused on style and leisurely pastimes, right? So no, someone maybe who's not very deep. The foreign word here was ZIGNBROEK which is in Dutch, which means seated without doing anything useful as far as work. So they're kind of referencing the same type of woman. So that was very interesting. All right. So then I looked up gin, G-I-N. And of course, you all know it's that alcoholic drink. It's also gin, rummy, and poker, which also can translate into poke her. But there's a lot of definitions for gin. Procreate, beget, father, produce, engender, breed, generate, against, nearby, towards, if, woman, girl, give birth, fetus, offspring, child, person, generating source, aboriginal woman. You notice that's A-B, original, woman. And B is the feminine, A is the man. A-B, original, woman, aboriginal. To begin, to remove. Now listen to this very careful, how we think of our men and women. Our man is a virus, all right, because the ver is the man, the jinn is the feminine. The ver is a virus, and the woman, listen to this stuff, is to begin to remove a trick. The feminine's considered a trick, the distortion of how the men see women. She's a trick, a device, an instrument, a snare, a trap, a machine for raising or moving heavy objects using a tripod of poles united at the top, which can reference a three-way situation, but also with a windlass, pulleys, ropes, etc., a hoisting drum that's vertical, a whim, a pile driver, a wind pump, right? How many times do men call women, a bunch of hot air, like never shut up? A cotton gin, instrument of torture, worked with screws. The feminine's considered an instrument of torture worked with screws. And then abbreviation of Geneva also came up, which is Dutch, which is also then Jupiter, which is Old French, and then in Latin, Uniparis, and that's just another way of saying juniper. So hence that you got gin rummy from that. And that was first attested in 1941, which is the 19 of the sun, and the 41 of the Ace of Cups, new love, self-love, spiritual love. And you notice also that the capital A literally is a quarter of a square. So it's one corner of a square with the line across measuring the angle, with measured angles. Which, of course, if it's a square, it's going to be 90 degrees, but the A doesn't have to be a square. It can be more of a diamond. It depends on what you're looking at. So I go back to the code line, regarding what that SAA that was between the AC and AD, or the before Christ and after death, of the falseness, the madman, the crazy man, the artificial. And what's between before his death and after his death is the SAA. So of course I had to look up SAA, which I'll get into that in a minute. But as I wrote down the code line, and this all had to do with 0 point, because 0 point, right, is the in-between, the 0 point, I literally drew an X because I was getting that from the letter A. So if you draw the letter A and then draw the reflection of the A on top of it, it becomes an X with lines across measuring the angle of the degree. So I was doing opposites because that came up in session as well. You know, working with your energy to get to 0 point and zero out your opposites. So the karmic energy versus the feminine energy was coming up regarding the X, and of course that's referencing the X karmic as, so the X energies were coming up as the old, the Akashics, the hourglass, the time, right, the old way things were done. X marks the spot for 0 point, and sealed with a kiss, X chromosome, and the X axis, or the horizontal, was coming up. Whereas then the feminine was coming up as the virgin and new, free and open, timeless, infinite, now moment, and spot on, as opposed to X marks the spot. Spot on was coming up, and it'll actually be developed even more in a minute. So, and the Y chromosome and the Y axis, which is vertical here, was coming up. The other karmic energies were coming up under this X picture with stretches, does handstands, anything he wants, measures angles to the square to make sure they're perfectly square at 90 degrees. So is willing to just, you know, hop to whatever the masculine says. And that's exactly like what my teenager was doing when I looked in for my inner child, and that one thing I explained to you. So if you take the A's and you reflect them on top of each other, it creates the X. But if you slide them down the other way, where it's one pyramid on top of the other, it becomes the diamond or the square, which is the safe place, the vortex, the 0 point, which contains the Merkaba. And also the two triangles are literally two cones coming together in the 3D. And I always reference this when I do my technical drawings. So it's like diamonds all connected are the same thing as the vein, except they're connected by valves. So they're rounded as opposed to squared, like a diamond would be. But it's the same thing, basically, just rounded off, because there's no real points in energy, right? There's always gaps there. So just rounding the corners off. So I wrote down, I had this A with the A on top as the X. So they were showing me the X as in comparison to the diamond. And then I wrote, I drew the X, but then I drew a square instead of the diamond, because it was just easier to draw the square on the lines and make it perfect square. And so I drew a regular square, but then I wrote in the diamond over the square, which literally then becomes the 6-pointed star. And naturally, by drawing that with a line through it, there makes an X there. And it's literally like you'd see a torture chamber on a table where both arms and legs are being pulled out. It's literally the X stretching themselves as far as they can to try to fit in the circle, being a square that doesn't fit in the circle, trying to make it fit, make it work, right? Hup to, doing whatever he says to make it work, but they don't work. So she's, it's like cutting off your nose to spite your face. So then the circle inside the square was coming up like the television. So even if you can, what was coming up is the circle is like the union energy, and if it's like the circle of trust. And if you let the X in the circle of trust, the X has to square outside of the circle. It can't fit in the circle. So it takes over the circle of trust. So that's why you can't let the X in, because it takes over the union energy. And then the circle, if you move the circle, something came up online in a commenter that I saw, where if you move the two halves of the circle apart from each other, it becomes the S wave, right? So the wave of energy. So it was, all of this was paralleling with these symbols I was drawing. And then the pi and phi also came up. And the ratio of how far to extend yourself outside the circle of trust. So when I drew the square and then drew a diamond in it, you know, you take an eighth a turn basically of a square to get the diamond, naturally creates a measure and the X to boot, which is like that torture chamber being stretched on the table. The measure comes in when comparing two. The X stretching and trying to keep up to be what he wants, but cannot measure to what comes naturally in the divine feminine. The X will eventually break. The square is just a diamond, but keep in mind that a square is just a diamond in the rough. That's the only difference. So triangles connected or even bond without a foundation equals an X. However, a triangle that fuses and merges together equals the diamond, or in other words, the complete package. Humans that are centered, or in other words, the pi symbol is the circle with a line across the diameter, but it stays within the lines. So centered humans are the pi energy, and then the phi, PHI energy, of the circle with a line through it the same way, except it goes outside the lines. That split becomes two. What did I write there? 2.5? Oh, so that split of drawing the line between the two circles, becomes two halves of a circle. The split becomes two halves of a whole, with or without the scythe to cut things out. So it's interesting because if you draw the pi and the phi is just two halves of a circle, but the phi, the lines go outside the circle. So when you separate the two halves of a phi circle with the line drawn through and outside the lines, it becomes a scythe when you divide them in half. So triangles that connect or even bond without a foundation, or in other words, the A, equals an X. However, the triangle that fuses and merges and comes together with each other in that diamond shape or the star shape equals the diamond, the complete package. The centered humans of the pi and the phi that split become two halves of a whole with or without the scythe, whereas if you cross the line, then you require a scythe to cut things out, right? The line outside the circle has to do with people outside yourself or outside your union. So, but the centered humans of the pi at mid-moon cycle who glide and dance become a wave of energy in the circle of trust and outside as well, in sharing with others. No need to separate the wheat from the chaff, with safe spots or safe zones in the loop or the cul-de-sac, in other words, which is something that's closed at one end, the bottom of a sack or vessel or tube with only one opening in. And that's and now the 7 ancient cities were coming up too, because the plateau cities, they'd have one very steep stairway up to the city so that they were impermeable to attack. So that's referencing the same type of energy there. So if you let the X into the circle of trust, they do not fit and will force your round. They will force your round into their square. Or in other words, if there's a circle inside a square, it's a television, which is television, but it's artificially made. A false telepathy or connection is the television, as opposed to two sides of the same coin, or the circle. Remember that though it's a square peg, it is just a diamond in the rough. They just haven't learned yet to keep their ice cream cone in their cone yet. Squares are X's and triangles, but circles are cones, lines, and lenses, and pupils and irises. The squares are X and triangles, distance, spots, and shutters, and aperture, like a camera, right? Those artificial things, and they don't learn their lessons. But circles are cones, lines, and lenses, and pupils and irises that graduate with honors and receive flowers from the heart. So it's coming up with the being false and being authentic. So if you're authentic, you'll naturally draw in the right energy for your circle of trust. But if you're inauthentic, you're going to find yourself stretching and stretching and stretching to make the other person happy no matter what, because it just wasn't meant to be, and you know it. So when you merge those circles, if you merge the circles like you would a vein as the valves, the valves are there to release stress, the stress of the climb up. So the pi and the phi were coming up in reference to how we learn as we grow as humans, all right? So the circle is the human embodiment of source. So initially when you come in as a baby, you're a circle. You're a beautiful, pure embodiment of source energy as a human. You are consciously centered as opposed to source creation. Like when we start as a baby, we're zero with no need for a line down the middle, no need for centeredness because we're pure. We're a baby. Then there's a need for pi as we get older, right? We don't just want baby food, now we want pi. As we get older, that throws us off balance. Pi is like the mid-moon cycle when it's easier to balance within. But as we get older and extend ourselves out to others, even when we're centered, now like phi, where we want to extend outside our own lines, when you get stressed going outside the lines. However, when we start learning our lessons and become one with the source, for example, learning piano technically as a page and then mastering as a songwriter or accomplished musician, then and only then can we become the master without the line down the middle. So then the phi becomes a circle with just two lines on the outside. There's no line within because you don't need the centeredness anymore. You've become a master when you become one with something. So what I was saying, if you learn how to play lessons when you first start playing the piano, it's very technical because you don't know what you're doing. So you have to think every note you're playing because you don't know yet. But once you become a master at it, you're literally channeling the music. You don't need to look at the keys anymore. You become one with the keyboard, you become one with the music, and you become one with source. It becomes innate. So this is the point. We go from the zero without a line through it to the pi of the zero with a line in it to balance ourselves when we're young. Then when we want to go out and be with friends or explore a little bit outside of our own experience, we become off center again because we have new energies coming into our life. So that's the phi. But then when we master our lessons, we no longer need the centering because it's like autopilot. We don't need to center ourselves constantly. So what you're going through now, our consciousness and being present every day, the more you do it, the more it becomes part of your nature and you don't have to practice anymore. So that was really cool. So then the hobo language came up, which was really cool because some of the symbols I was drawing came up on this language. And it's literally an alphabet for hobos. I guess pictures that they draw on buildings to let other hobos know where to go. So I want to show you those symbols that were coming up. All right, let's see if I can focus this a little better. So, hold on one second. So I get my finger in the way. All right, so this one's kind of like the phi without the line down the middle because you only have the line pointing outward, okay? And then this one is funny because that's the line through, like the pi, where you have to have the line through the circle. And those two mean, the one with the line through it says no use going this direction. And the other one, this one here means this way. So this is when you're good, when you've mastered. This is when you're still a student learning to stay within the lines and stay centered. The other symbols that were really cool that I wrote down were so the T for me, T is toggling up for me. And that one means food here if you work. And then the cross here cracked me up because that one means religious talk and free meal. And I was talking to my son because in order to get his free meals from his mother, he has to listen to my religious talk, which is about, our stuff. It was really funny. Then the circle with the X in it says, this is a good place for a handout. And the 11, let's see where the 11 is. Oh, wrong way. Then this one had the 11 here, and that means the sky is the limit. So I loved that they had 11 here. And then there was just a few others, like the 3 lines horizontal meant not a safe place. And then what looks like a railroad tie Yeah, this one here. This one, I have to use my pen. This one right here looks like a railroad tie. And it also looks like, you know, you cross the line too many times. That one meant you'll be cursed out, which is really funny. And then another one was 2/10, so 2/10. And that's the signal that there are thieves about. So if you see 2/10 or even just 210, notice that there are thieves about, because you're not going to get that. You're going to get that warning. If you have two diamonds attached, that means keep quiet. Anyway, that was really cool. So then my son came out to talk to me. And then it was 2/14 came up, which is Valentine's Day, and there's no place like home. So then Dorothy was coming up again, and Valentine's Day. But I was reminding him that to click his heels, and that there's no place like home, and home is the heart. And then it was 2/22, which has to do with our guides, because room 222 is all about guidance counselors. That every day should feel like Valentine's Day when you're with the right one. So I went to write down ratio with the phi ratio, 1.618, and I wrote ration by accident. So rations of union to man, and pi, or phi rather, if you have two lines that are parallel to each other and one's broken into two different segments, the ratio of the whole line to the larger line of the second line is the same as the ratio of the larger line, the larger segment to the smaller segment. So it's literally referencing the ratio of the union to the man to the woman. So the ratio of union to man equals the ratio of the man to woman. So therefore the woman will always be less than, because the man is less than the union together, but the woman is less than the man. So that's always how the men has kept the woman down, right? Because he was the bigger one in the family. He was the leader of the pack, right? He went out and defended his whole family to the world, where she took care of the children and him. So that was very interesting how that ratio came up. So then at 2:39, the birds started tweeting outside. It was very sweet energies. 2 is the High Priestess, and 39 is the Knight of Cups. They were being very loving. And then the Virgin was coming up again with the Beta and the AB of the Aborigines, AB originals. So the uncircumcised was bringing up virginity, right, when you're still pure. And the Beta of the volatility, that the Alpha is the top dog and the Beta is the volatility, or the feminine, who causes all the drama. And also the B comes up. If you knock the B over, it becomes a small W with the line over it, which is another symbol for pi. So again, as I brought up before, the VIR definition and the GIN of virgin, the masculine is the ver, the feminine is the jin. It also means wind and wind pump. The masculine is the wind, the feminine is considered the wind pump. So again, these definitions are bringing up the way we view each other and the toxic way that this happens, okay? So the VIR, the masculine is the virus, to come, whirlpool, source, origin, lie, brave hero, warrior, foot soldier, or front man, the one who gets killed first. The feminine is the jinn, the procreation, fetus, child, source, or the generating source. The Aboriginal women, which is the AB original women. AB is the connection of the masculine and the feminine together, which is a trick, a trap, an instrument of torture worked with screws and the tripod of poles united at the top, or the hoisting drum. And that, in other words, is someone who lifts you up, but you can also beat them up or beat on them. Okay, that's how masculine sees the woman. The woman is mad because she must be less than according to the golden rule, or the golden ratio of phi. When each person dances between their own divine masculine and feminine, though, then phi is no longer two lines with one broken down into two different segments of unequal value. Now phi becomes 3 equal lines, 3 parallel lines, because when there's phi, you literally have the masculine and feminine in each person dancing back and forth. So the union is equal to the masculine, and the union is also equal to the feminine. There is no distinguishing there. They're all one. Union equals the masculine, which equals the feminine, equals pi, 1-to-1. Doesn't need the H of phi, because pi is phi without the H. The pi is 1-to-1. It doesn't need the H of the phi or the number 8, which H is, because I got the rhythm in me. I got the music in me. Okay, you get it? So you don't need to have the line to remind you to be centered because you're already doing the dance. You're already mastered. You're already one with it. It was a really cool message here. I hope you guys got all that. I know it's a lot without visuals. So she causes his pool to whirl. She the child to his warrior hero man. She is made up of both of them, aboriginal, but he only himself. He is the virus that comes as she generates his source seeds, tortures him by screwing him, tricking him out of his lie that he is the origin. She lifts him up and he spreads like the color wheel. So he puts his life on the line, on the front lines, shattering his blood all over the field, and then she becomes worthless. She generates him. Without her, he is nothing. Without him, she has nothing to pump, and so then she becomes deemed worthless, and then she feels worthless. So again, after he puts his life on the line, right, because he protects the family against the world, and she protects the children and takes care of him. So he puts his life on the line, on the front lines, shattering his blood all over the field, and then she becomes worthless in the same way that she is not. If she's pumping him up or feeding his ego, and she no longer has something to pump, then she's worthless. And the same thing, though, the feminine has both in her, but the masculine doesn't. So if the masculine goes away, he just goes away. But if the feminine goes away, that she's still there, but now she has nothing. She has nothing to feed into. It's like the XY chromosome and the XX. If we take the Y away, we still have the X. So the feminine energy never goes away. That's the initial source energy. So it's very interesting the way it comes up. The nothingness. But the nothingness in the 3D, you wouldn't be able to see the feminine energy if she was only in her etheric form. All right, so let's see here. Did I give everything on that page? I think I did. So again, referencing back to the valves of the vein. The valves of the vein is what lifts you up. It lifts the blood back up to the heart. You support the divine masculine. So then I go back to the code line for the read. Folks say he died to get even with the Queen of Swords and the Queen of Wands. The one that's all over the place, from the Antichrist or the AC before Christ to the AD after death, with SAA between them, which SAA means to be allowed. SAA equals tied, to get, to be allowed, to receive. To receive and be allowed is SAADA. And literally in the code line there was, where is it? In the code line, the letters were literally SAAAD. So it was literally referencing that sada word, which literally means the allowing. To be allowed, to receive, to get. SAA also means tied, salt, so young, adolescent, and immature in that very expressive way. It also means o'clock, hour, clock, serpent, family, moment, instant, and bird. So, I'm going to say that code line again. After that madman who's all over the place from Antichrist or before Christ to after death with the SAA or being allowed between at 0 point, the bone of contention, the crucifixion, as the tide changes to be allowed to receive the Sa'ada, salt of the earth, fountain of youth, as the bewitching hour comes or chimes in at 12 midnight. The reset, as the serpent climbs, the family of one, the moment, the instant, the bird is released, or in other words, freedom. The day the music died, a moment of significance in our lives. The sweet, instead of saying the sweet spot though, I was being guided to cross that out. So instead of saying the sweet spot, and by the way, the numbers that came up were the sweet spot too, 5, 6, 7 is the sweet spot in the scale of numbers 1 to 9 of where we should be, a little to the side of light. The sweet spot is not the sweet spot, but the sweet pupils and irises, always learning and flowering, purple, gold, and white. And that was at 3:30, which is referencing the 33 again of the Christ vibration and the crucifixion. So we start this read in front of you out. It's getting a long one. This one comes up at 5 of Cups upright. And beneath it's 4 of Pentacles upright, Starseed reversed, Ace of Pentacles upright, and Queen of Pentacles reversed. All right, so here. That's the 5 of Cups. So grieving after the Divine Masculine's heart in the bat cave, lacking faith, fell on face from grace with an offer of a new life to the Queen of Pentacles reversed. And then the movie that I watched, The Wrong Missy, was coming up. So which Queen of Pentacles reversed is it? The King of Wands reversed with issues at work on a quest to work it out by working real hard, or in other words, resistance. Grieving and rising above, waking and coming out, the 10 of Pentacles, or about the 10 of Pentacles, family, business, legacy, or community. And the Knight of Swords, messenger of truth, rushing in with the truth, or a quick message, the weight of the world on his shoulders. After the Empress reversed, and separation, and grief or war within and battle without, destined to world upside down, or in another world with Thoth, in need of closure, or not aroused by the judgment of the crowds. Sound familiar? Sounds like Jesus Christ Superstar. And frustrated, unable to understand the needs of a little boy to have their parents together. Tripped up, dropping facade, the act, the mask, to break patterns, tap dancing on the glass ceiling, longing for his inspiration back. Perhaps his tip is inflamed after circumcision, or STD of the Pied Piper calling in their dues, or saving grace spitting on you, or announcement, or judgment, or wake-up call, or just a call to act, the whistleblower taken down, not aroused, no stimulus check, or under arrest. Broke patterns and or police brutality, someone was clubbed or threw up causing a shark attack, or father and child separated unwillingly until they cleaned up their act at 352, which is the Empress and the Queen of Swords. The Hermit reversed and the 2 of Pentacles reversed, the hobo, the bum, the homeless person, the crazy man, the madman out of his mind, free to roam the streets, or fired by the King of Pentacles reversed, or the King of Pentacles reversed fell from grace, and is that person now on the streets? Breaking patterns of foolish behavior, thought he could walk on the edge forever with loyal friend without falling or getting hurt, and now infected, perhaps giving to another as well. Deception comes up, and beneath that was separation. So the Page of Swords is upright here, along with the Emperor upright, both out, opposing sides. The Page of Swords message, or putting their butt where it doesn't belong, ends up at the doctor's office to have their butt looked at, perhaps, unable to see the truth right under them if they would just look. The Emperor stunned by the light the trophy wife is receiving. The Queen of Cups is loving, nurturing, intuitive, and kind to others. In injustice of being strong-armed, someone forced into pulling their fangs, or had their face shoved somewhere. You can lead them to water, but you can't make them drink. Or 3 women ganging up on one boar, one holding him down, one coddling him, and one just standing there without doing anything about this injustice despite knowing and feeling it was wrong at the time. The Queen of Cups is upright, the Libra reversed, matching bookends of legs and bare feet, female wrestler requiring a tooth to get their wish, and big palms and big feet. The stepmother and evil stepsisters, the Emperor remembering having her bend over to look at her butt. New beginnings comes up, number 1, and beneath that was personal growth, number 7, the Chariot. Impatient, not patient, the King of Cups reversed, emotionally detached or over-emotional, in exile, destitution, injury and or illness, powerless or homeless with a dependent. Celebrating with a very big cup. Cheers to temptation of the Holy Grail, or teasing your child with your glass of alcohol, but not letting them taste. Holding the cup up and then offering it to the squirrels, or being an arrogant MF, guzzling alcohol, funneling in near-death experience, or until they passed out, or until lets go and allows the transformation. So someone obviously was out drinking, and there may have been a near-death experience for sure. Someone with alcohol poisoning, or someone's literally putting rat poisoning in their cup. So masculines, watch out for that if that may be your situation. Obviously, that's not going to apply to everybody. Maybe just a couple out there. Or may have punished a child. Someone may have punished their child by forcing them to drink a lot to teach them a lesson, and the child almost died. Again, rat in cups outside, or someone put rat poison in someone's cup, a big cup of it, hoping that they die, or at least tainted their barrel. So someone has a wine business, someone might have tainted their barrel so that they would lose their business, or perhaps get sued. So that's like a revenge type of thing. 416 is the Emperor and the Tower coming up. So definitely affecting the Emperor. Skulls and bones, and give a paddywhack, or went wine tasting and almost drank self to death, was the 9th that did it, or a dare and or hazing, and this may be coming up from the past as well, the masculine competition to win at all cost. Grieving near death, on roofie, somebody might have been sexually abused on a roofie, and no memory except inflamed penis. This may be a masculine who was abused. Grieving the incident with the King of Pentacles reversed, being strong taken down by Leo and her ego, or scorned woman. New beginnings comes up, number 1, and recently was the 6 of Pentacles upright, sharing, settling out, being charitable. The Emperor, Page of Swords, and the Page of Cups, so it could be a father or grandfather and 2 kids, or an uncle, whoever, with 2 kids, air and water, their world upside down, or fell in a pool and was powerless. Somebody might have fallen in a pool drinking. And then I'm getting drinking from an empty pool of wine. Don't blame me now, I can see the answer till this morning, till this evening, till this morning, life is fine. So that's coming up. Powerless or dependent, impatient fallen angel. Perhaps one fell in a pool or drunk in a pool, and the other was confused, not knowing what to do, and ran. Or an Emperor and 2 kids needing closure regarding something they did wrong. Or the King of Wands reversed is dumping emotional attachments, perhaps tired, sick, and or angry, of running and being seen as the fallen angel, the bad man behind blue eyes, always sharing and giving to kids and their community, and yet still getting blamed for being the bad one. The foundation here is the 5 of Pentacles upright, left behind for dead, in exile, destitute, injured or ill, the Devil or a Capricorn, released from prison, anxiety of the Queen of Pentacles reversed, in a painful ending or an ending pain, overworking is not working, dumped, purging, crying, vomiting, peeing, bleeding, or overwhelmed, blood, sweat, and tears. The Empress reversed is dumping on the Queen of Pentacles reversed, which may be her own mother, or could be their mother-in-law, blaming everything on them. So here's the Empress reversed and the Queen of Pentacles reversed. And it looks like the Empress reverse is dumping everything on the Queen of Pentacles reverse, like it's all her fault. And they come up together all the time. So it literally can be a mother and daughter, or a mother-in-law and daughter. It could be grandmother also. So the center energy here is the Knight of Pentacles upright, offering help, moving on. The Wounded Warrior, happy alone. Or the Wounded Warrior is one person, and the Nine of Cups is happy, the other person. So it's the Wounded Warrior is happy alone, or they're 2 separate people. The Wounded Warrior, and then the other person is the Nine of Cups person, who's very happy with themselves alone. The other person may have blown up in a war and defensive, guarded, but there's also good news, victory, attention, back in the saddle, leading the way for the other. The challenge being the Queen of Swords reversed, clearly magician embodiment and left behind or pushing others away, or the magician is connected to the Empress reversed, clearly guarding her and sending people away. No food today, so it could be like a food bank as well. Or mother and daughter left out in the cold, homeless, but they did it to themselves, sharing, settling out, and choosing a new path, but no peace. Or since they can't travel, with ending a family and or emotional cycle with the Queen of Wands reversed, there's no peace trying to bridge or be civil with each other at 437, which is the Emperor and the King of Cups. Now the King of Cups in this read is coming up perhaps as the father of the Queen of Wands. He could also be the Queen of Pentacles, could be the same person. But unstable home is coming up here, or moving or ending a marriage, and happy, or the kids are happy, just playing out in the sun, fully exposed. Saving, grounding, holding on loosely, inspired to connect. no longer obsessed with fantasy family, business, legacy, or community, or perhaps no longer obsessed with mirrored connection, impatient to move, defenseless to energies and attacks. As the messenger of truth is powerless, or dependent to a betrayal, ending pain, painful end with the Hierophant, Taurus, marriage, religion, establishment, or community, connecting and released from a deception, or the new moon, or delta dawn, which can be the hours before the sun rises, of the Knight of Pentacles and Page of Cups. The Knight of Pentacles offered help to the Page of Cups, and that could be two kids making up with each other. Because there was definitely a story coming up the other day where one kid told on the other, so they might have been fighting. So now for the masculine is the Seven of Wands reversed. Defenseless to the drama queen, reaping rewards of near-death experience, or just clinging on to the never-ending story, stretching the end out as long as she could, or as long as possible, whoever that was. It can be either one of them doing that. Presently, the magician with the tools, and coming clean or getting clean, but taking forever, perhaps doing restitution. Judgment, announcement, wake-up call, Red Cross leading the way, romantic love out in the cold with an olive branch extended between two twisted pillars, impatient to end the nightmare, defenseless and no longer allowing them to have their way with you. That's for the masculine. The masculine defenseless, no longer now allowing them to have their way, no longer willing to allow others to push their feminine wiles on them. The King of Swords warriors armed with the truth and presenting it to the hangman, or perhaps to other men in the community, or the past, or looking back, destined to cut to the chase regarding happy memories, or kids who are usually good, or powerless to positive memories, experiencing feelings or expressing feelings, an energetic exchange back and forth, offering love over and over again, and ignored, now offering a payoff or new life, or punitive damages for injustice or in a divorce, or to a romantic tie who's bleeding out, frustrated with the Taurus or Hierophant, or marriage for not allowing the past to burn, regarding the sealed divine feminine in another world connection, the divine marriage, and offering a big money for a divorce perhaps. Soon is the indigo upright, proposing big manifestation, while the Queen of Wands reversed with her sham fam, or connecting to her own family, but there's no peace there either way. She's reversed and there's no peace, so it's not a good energy with the Ten of Cups. The family is upright. That could be artificial though. So dumping emotional attachments to the Knight of Cups, offering love to their twin and or the kids, defenseless to third party or social distancing. The Knight of Pentacles is offering little help to the Knight of Wands reversed and the King of Cups reversed players, or someone who fell short or fell off the wagon. The Knight of Pentacles here may be doing like 12-step restitution, like going back to people they've hurt. I'm like seeing the Knight of Pentacles like going door to door to apologize to people. The Page of Pentacles upright and the Queen of Pentacles reversed, and the Magician may be happy alone, defenseless to the Queen of Pentacles reversed, and the kids, the Page of Pentacles and the Knight of Pentacles, offering help to those who perhaps have turned their backs on them before. So they're being charitable. The masculine sees himself as the alchemy card, but it's reversed. So impatient, perhaps losing their temper. The fallen angel, having their inner beast or their ego stroked by the Hierophant or Taurus, or vice versa. No passion or very uncomfortable energies here, but the Page of Pentacles student is doing very well, learning from the Queen of Cups or the Divine Lover. 5 o'clock, which is the Hierophant, with a lot of source energy backing it up. Leo or Gemini, bridging the gap between the Queen of Cups and the Hierophant. The Divine Masculine is impatient, but those around him may be coddling him, or just behaving too nice, and he doesn't trust it. Around him, or how he is seen, is the Moon reversed, deception with the Queen of Swords reversed, depressed and needing to heal and shine their light. The Queen of Swords reversed amidst Cancer reversed and Aquarius reversed, or that's all her energy, so it could be an Aquarius Cancer person, or between deception and just having no light, shadow people, no one to trust. Sagittarius reversed versus Cancer reversed, with Leo or ego between, strong-arming them. The blocks the masculine needs to clear here is the Queen of Wands upright with negative group, The Knight of Pentacles offering help to the Knight of Wands reversed, and the King of Cups reversed, perhaps her father, and she is spoiled by him, or always expects him to take care of the kids for her so she can roam free with no responsibility. Putting it all out there with or for the Two of Cups lover, connections, perhaps waiting for a bite. The Queen of Wands, Page of Cups is fishing, and the Six of Cups is a big innocent love. Heartbroken in separation with the secret out, and suffering in silence, or a sister here, without each other. The sealed divine feminine in another world, or 5D, and the Hierophant or Taurus, or leader, is connected to release of anxiety and deception, or before the sunrise when the Knight of Pentacles offers help, money, or opportunity, or loyalty to the Page of Cups. Perhaps a child from one family comes forward to make peace with another child, perhaps providing an example of good behavior for their parents. The Six of Cups is happy. They're getting their wish despite injustice and reaping rewards of the divine feminine's heart in the E-Tower, sending 5D messages. Grieving, out in the cold, impatient fallen angel, and deception of being charitable, the Knight of Pentacles is proposing help and challenged by the Queen of Swords reversed, indigo, proposing something more sparkly to the Queen of Wands, defenseless to the children's love. Twins or kids are happy, and Libra reversed, injustice, reaping rewards of the divine feminine's heart, sending 5D messages. The divine masculine's heart lacks faith as he offers money, time, and effort, and or new life to the Queen of Pentacles reversed, who may be left out in the cold. Settling out or giving charitably in the never-ending story, blocking the end. So he may have kicked someone out, and now he feels bad, so he's being charitable to them. Left behind, exile, destitution, injury, or being ill. The Knight of Pentacles is challenged by the Queen of Swords reversed, defenseless to drama, in order to reap the rewards of being coddled. And that's like, just any mother and son where you're willing to put up with what they want to talk about as long as they feed you and wash your clothes and all that kind of stuff. Impatient fallen angel, indigo proposing diamonds to kids or twin, deception of the Queen of Wands to kids and or twins. The Knight of Pentacles is going around making restitution for all they've done wrong in the past, and perhaps reuniting with the masculine, maybe reuniting with the kids and or his twin at 523, which is the Hierophant and the King of Wands. And again, like I said before, there may be a masculine who's part of a sentence or 12-step program where they have to make restitution to people. So that's the end of the read. And I'm going to let's just pull something from the KIPPER deck real quick for you since we're already past 2 hours. It's 2/12/14. That's the High Priestess, the Hangman, and the Temperance card. 2:20. And we started this third read about 60 minutes, so this one's long. A lot came up before the read. All right, one last message for everybody here. Unexpected income and no more concern. And it's like that father, the father who may be an alcoholic or emotionally detached, if this is a Karmic's father, whereas before he was always coming up like this, concerned, and maybe concerned about maybe he sheltered his child too much, that kind of stuff. And now he's reversed. There's no more concern here. So unexpected, maybe because the money came in, he's not concerned anymore. And then we have the coffin reversed. So maybe someone was near death, but they're now out of the woods. Or just this is no longer an issue. I'm also getting shadow people from that. So shadows from the past coming back to haunt you. That could be as well for the this older man. And then we have the main male reversed too. So he's still going through stuff, okay? Maybe he's the one of them had a near-death experience perhaps, and so now there's no longer concern, and unexpected income came through for whoever was struggling. And definitely need to ground into some emotion because there's no emotion in this picture. The underlying energy here is the false person, so the need to take those masks off, which definitely came up in the different cards today. Okay, and there's definitely some legal stuff regarding work. And of that loss of money with somebody walking away from their circumstance, perhaps accepting the loss of finances, or just didn't have it to begin with and just are going out on their own. Okay. All right, I hope you appreciate that, because It was very intense all day. I'm going to show you the cards real quick and then let you go. Let's see if I can get this out. Uh-oh. I'm all tangled up here. So 1 second. Okay. All right. So there's the underlying energy, the 5 of chalices or cups. The recent past is that 6 of pentacles. You can't see it very well, but you can see the scales. The foundation here is the 5 of crystals. As you can see, the clarification cards, and there's that Empress reversed on top of the Queen of Pentacles reversed. The middle energy is that Knight of Pentacles, right? The loyal servant, he is upright. And the challenge being the Queen of Swords reversed, so that could be an air sign for sure. The other underlying energies up there you see, the never-ending story, and the crowning energy is that 7 of Flames reversed. All right, so not rising above the drama, but feeling defenseless. We go across the 4D bridge there to the indigo, which is upright. The Magician's upright today. And it's like a child with a diamond in their, big diamond in their hand, offering. The masculine sees himself as alchemy, but it's reversed today. And around him is the moon reversed. The blocks he needs to clear has to do with the Queen of Flames, which is under these cards here. She's the one with flames in all of her hands and 6 arms. And then we end up here, look at the colors of the numerology deck. So we have orange, green, and pink. So a lot of compassion, the sacral chakra, and the heart as well. And we end up with the 6 of Cups upright there, which is really beautiful energy. With the 9 of Cups also upright, really beautiful energy. And you see that 2 of Cups is upright too. And there's the world, it's like the divine feminine there in the 5D. And then we have the Justice card reversed. So there's injustice there, or just a Libra energy reversed. And then we have the E-Tower of the Divine Feminine's heart above that, reaping rewards. And then the Knight of Swords upright, sending 5D messages. So there's the underlying energy of the new beginnings and personal growth. And that's the orange of the sacral chakra and the third eye purple. So I hope that was helpful for you guys. Make sure you drink your water, get your rest, get your nature, get your joy. Oh, I just have to capture my breath here. This is a long one. And I'm being guided to point to the 3 of Cups and the transition card so you can see it a little better. I know the light's shining on it. There's that transition card. 17. Rise and be love, you guys. I'll see you later.